movement. Peace, love, respect. Big King Sadiq hollering at you one more again. In the house. Thank you, folks. Worldwide movement. Peace, love, respect. Thank you all. I love you all. Please be here with me and accept my love and gratitude, man, for such a magnificent form that we've been able to develop with one another. Where we get together and we conversate and we bust atoms up, right, while we're exchanging thoughts and ideas, and we lay down the foundation. We are building the foundation for the new paradigm that we like to say exhibits peace, love, respect, right? Worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. Thank you all. I appreciate you being with me. Please feel free to announce yourself in the chat so I can say hi, what's up, right? If you don't want to, that's fine. You can just sit back, relax, and listen. Either way, please be with us for another magnificent episode of Building with Big King. This is episode 9, if I'm not mistaken here. So we're rolling right along with season number 2. And today, yet again, we have another really, really interesting subject for us to discuss. We got Brother Sean in the building. Worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. Good to have you back in the forum, my brother. Welcome. Thank you tremendously. Anybody else that wants to announce themselves, holler in the chat. Please feel free to do so. Like I said, no pressure to do anything. Just sit back, enjoy the information and the conversation in this forum, this family that we have developed and galvanized together, right? As we continue to build the worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. Certainly, we most certainly are doing everything we can to lay down and build this foundation for the new paradigm, right? A high vibrational frequency paradigm that we like to say exudes peace, love, respect. Worldwide movement. All right, folks. So, like I promised you, we have yet again another very, very interesting subject matter, right? So I don't know how many of you are familiar with one of our presidents, Dwight D. Eisenhower, right? Not that I'm necessarily a big rah-rah Eisenhower fan, but I think and still think, I thought and still think that what President Eisenhower did on his way out of office and repeated in his later days before passing away, his warning to us all, right, that these shadow governments are real. They are a real problem and real threat, right? And he was a part of the beginning, I like to say, of what I would root as the beginnings of the disclosure movement, right? What I mean by the disclosure movement, I mean the movement of folks who are inclined to reveal what has been hidden, sequestered, and kept away from certainly the American people, but the world at large. Information regarding to and dealing with UFOs, unidentified flying objects, or the new term UAP, unidentified anomalous phenomenon, right? Which is not really phenomenon, or USOs as well. Unidentified submersible objects. These are objects that have been witnessed going either coming directly from our outer space, so to speak, right, into our atmosphere and into our oceans or some other large body of water, right? There are a lot of files and information becoming declassified, right? This has been echoed. This is not just coming from me. This is echoed from the Trump administration. And it's something that's been talked about since before he even got in office, right? So it's not that this movement is originating with him. But I salute him as well for any ways he's complicit, right? With this disclosure movement, because it is very much needed. And I personally, this is part of the reason for me doing this particular subject. I don't think as many people know or realize just exactly how imperative or urgent of an issue this is, right? Just to build the framework. And a lot of this information that I'm going to relate to you, I am piggybacking openly off of Dr. Stephen Greer, who I have followed his information myself personally for a little over 25 years now, so I can speak toward the man's pedigree and the veracity of the information he presents and his consistency, right? Like I said, over 25 years, I've been following Dr. Greer's work and some other individuals who've shown that kind of dedication. But we really, I think, and I certainly can say this in the quote unquote Black community, right? And Brother Rich on the 363 Magic channel and podcast also alluded to the fact that in the quote unquote Black community, there's just not enough awareness about this, and far too much denial, right? We could talk in a little bit about some reasons for that. But as we do make up a large percentage of the population, both here and an even more massive percentage of the population in other parts of the world. In fact, if you talk about people of color in the world in general, we're not the minority, we're the majority. So that is just, another extension of the agenda that gets rolled out. But what's most important is that in general, not just in the quote unquote Black community, but in all of certainly the United States, Canada, and a lot of the larger countries in the world, unfortunately, still exist in air of, or a mystique of, or sort of the presumption of, this is kind of a wacky subject, right? Thank you, cuz Bruce Curry in the house. Big O, welcome. Thank you, cuz. I appreciate you chiming in and being with us. As other folks will continue to chime in, I'll just go over the subject matter once again. I mentioned about President Eisenhower alluding to this on his way out of office, and certainly even more so in the later days before he passed away. But there have been other presidents, right? It's likely that part of the reason why President Kennedy was assassinated had to do with this subject matter. Presidents Reagan and Carter both touched a little bit on the subject, right? And now we see openly discussed in Congress, in U.S. Congress, for those of you who do not know, the subject of UFO, UAP, or USO, right? And also we've seen that part of the documents that are going to be or scheduled to be, some already have been declassified, that amongst that group or category of documents or those relating to UFO, UAP, and USO, among other very important subjects. But the basis or the bottom line of what I'm getting to, folks, is that this is no longer a secret. This is no longer really even a subject that carries that same air of ridicule, right? A lot of people bringing up this subject years ago. Oh man, you crazy, ain't no such thing as UFOs. Well, now we know that's not true. Now we know the facts are that yes, there are, and there is a such thing as UFOs, UAPs, or USOs, however you want to refer to them. But we know it for a fact now, right? And along with that, uh, we know for a fact now that our government, right, as well as other governments around the world, and more particularly headed up, spearheaded, and ran by the shadow government elements, okay, that President Eisenhower warned us about, and other presidents and other officials and other notable individuals throughout the years warned us about. This shadow government element has been controlling all of it. Okay. Um, they have been for here's another thing. This is something that Dr. Greer goes in great detail about. He talks about these scalar weapons that they have, right? That they actually use to take down these ships of other worldly origin, right? Or unidentified flying objects, unidentified uh, aerial or anomalous phenomenon, and unidentified submersible objects. These things are actually not, they don't always just crash, and that's the way that the government gets a hold of them. Sometimes they actually bring them down utilizing this technology, this scalar technology, and probably others as well. A lot of people didn't know that or know that such a technology exists. But these people, folks, have been retro engineering a number of technologies that they have developed and retro engineered based off of the technology that they were able to recover from these ships. This is real, folks. This is facts. And we need to be sober, mature, and adult enough and spiritually mature enough to deal with this, right? Because there are a great number of very concerning and powerful implications that surround this subject. Okay? Realize in your mind that working along with these shadow government elements, there are some of the largest and most powerful corporations in the world, like Lockheed Martin, Boeing. You may or may not have heard of something called the Lockheed Skunk Works, right? Dr. Greer talks a lot about these facilities where they do a lot of this cutting edge or beyond reality, or what is our walking around everyday reality, experimentation and development of these technologies that we actually have no idea exist, and many of them would literally blow our mind. I'm talking about technologies that are so advanced as a product of these individuals having the ability to have free reign over developing these technologies through this covert research that they're doing, right? This unsanctioned research, right? Quite frankly, this illegal research, right? Because these folks are operating outside of the purview or any sort of supervision, any checks and balances, any kind of accountability to the American government, the American people, or anyone in the world other than their cabal, right? So we need to understand that 50 years unchecked, having that ability, have yielded some technologies and things that would literally blow our mind, and we would quite frankly refer to as magic, right? I'm gonna go on a little earlier. I'm so glad you chimed in on this podcast, because I didn't even think about this. This is a direct tie, right? My cousin speaks up because Bruce says my father worked for Lockheed Martin before he worked for NASA, right? He indeed did. And I'm sure, Bruce, that you would relate to the fact that there were some things he shared with us, but there was a whole lot about about what Uncle Bruce did that we just didn't know about, right? And I trust Uncle Bruce and his moral barometer, and I certainly don't accuse him of any ill doing or wrongdoing, but certainly there were things that he was made responsible to keep secret, right? I mean, you can't just flap your gums about this stuff loosely and freely, and we understand that. Many people who work in these facilities are giving very detailed and highly legalized or I don't know what the word I want to use for it is. They're giving non-disclosure agreements that have a very high degree of legal penalty that they're threatened with. Okay. So we got to understand that going into it, folks. There are a lot of people who, when they get into this stuff, they do start finding out things that they would like to share with their family and friends, with the public at large, but are simply unable to, right? They're not only given these non-disclosure agreements, but many of them are threatened with physical violence or even death, right, for doing so. So we certainly blame nobody who does not openly and freely just disclose everything that they do. But yes, here's an example right in my family of somebody working for these facilities. And even within that scope, there are a couple of conversations that I recall having with my uncle, because that has always been something that's been sort of my interest and fascination. And I think he kind of knew that through the years. And we always have had very sort of scientific / sci-fi conversations, right? So, yeah. And Bruce chimes back in and says he would never talk about certain things that I thought was funny years after he retired. There you have it, right? There's certain things that he was likely just in a position that he could not reveal, right? And were he here with us and in this conversation right now, maybe he would feel like he want to reveal a few things, right? Maybe there's some things he'll give us inspiration on from the other side of the veil, as we love him and know he certainly is looking upon us, right? And looking out for us. We love you, Uncle Bruce. Right, and all of our folks on the other side of the veil. But yeah, man, this is powerful stuff. This is very powerful stuff. There was a lot coming out, and there is a disclosure movement that is. First of all, I want to make a differentiation, right? Dr. Stephen Greer is the head of the Disclosure Project. That he has headed up for a great number of years, and has done some powerful things and has released some very powerful information. In fact, I'd be totally remiss. I'm not going to do it right now, but before the end of the podcast, I'm going to go and retrieve his book really quickly that I purchased. That, oh my goodness, I honestly have to recommend each and every single person to buy this book. Wasn't really expensive. I think it was south of $30 or something like that, or maybe just north. But the information, the detail, the documents, even though many of them have had to been redacted, the accounts that are given by civilian and non-civilian personnel. I mean, folks, there's some incredible information, and all of the means for you to research and look back into its veracity and see that, wait a minute, hold on, this stuff did exist, right? He's talking about stuff that is authentic and has gone on within our government and in that shadow government realm, right? And yeah, man, this is a very serious subject, folks. If for no other reason than what I'm relaying to you in terms of this shadow government element that has had free reign, I mean, complete free reign for over 50 years, no oversight whatsoever, holding them back. And by the way, folks, to make this have a little bit more relevance to each and every one of you, How do you think they've been funding this? They're taking our money, right, and funding this whole operation, but telling us nothing about it and allowing us no benefit of all of the wealth of technologies that have come as a result of this, right? It is absolutely uncomprehensible. It's just far beyond unacceptable that they take billions of our dollars per year and allocate toward this shadow government effort, and we get nothing but the bill from it, folks. Are you hearing me? All we get is the bill. They actually take billions of dollars of our tax money. And if you think I'm exaggerating, go back and research the Pentagon's last 6 audits. They failed all of them and were unable to account for billions of dollars each time. Now, you tell me how you just willy-nilly lose billions of dollars of the taxpayers' money. They didn't lose it. They just not disclosing what they did with it and who was actually manipulating those funds and what they're using them for, right? This is a big deal. Like I said, we're getting the bill for all of this. What we're not getting is any information about it, right? Which we shouldn't be kept in the dark about. And probably even a bigger deal is we're not getting the benefit of any of these discoveries, of any of these technologies that have been developed as a result of over 50 years of unchecked, with no oversight, research, with our complete open-ended funding, right? We're getting back nothing. In fact, if anything, what we have received is harmful usage of the technologies, at least some of the technologies that they have utilized. And a lot of that is detailed as well in Dr. Greer's book. Brother Sean Johnson, grand day, my brethren. Thank you for being with us once again. Always coming in with powerful insight and knowledge. Thank you, brethren. Once again, bro, we're talking about the false flag narrative and the veracity of it, the seriousness of this subject, and how we have somehow allowed for well over 50 years this shadow government element to have over 50 years of unchecked research and development of retro engineering technologies from these crafts that they've either taken down with scalar technologies or that have crashed in our atmosphere, collided in our atmosphere, or crashed somewhere on the planet, right? This is real. This is documented. This is verified, and much of it is being disclosed today as Congress delves more into it openly with open hearings that is open for the public. And as the Disclosure Project moves further and other efforts into what I refer to as the disclosure movement. Now, earlier I started to make a differentiation between the Disclosure Project and the disclosure movement. So the Disclosure Project is specifically headed up by Dr. Stephen Greer and has been so for a great many years. The disclosure movement is the greater movement at large of everyone who is delving into and putting their efforts into these things being revealed and us getting in a position, in a real actionable position to change the direction of how these things have been applied and implemented in past years. All right. Yeah, man, this is a serious subject. Like I'll go back to again. They have developed this scalar technology that they're using to actually take these ships down. Now, I'm going to touch briefly on another area of huge concern. Because they're doing that, right? And they essentially by default represent humanity, okay? Because they're doing that, they're essentially representing us and what is a hostile gesture toward these civilizations of otherworldly origin, right? Now, these civilizations, most if not all of them, are vastly more technologically superior to us. Now, maybe the technology that this cabal has, right, being so far away from what we're aware of, maybe they've closed that gap, and I suspect that they have closed that gap significantly. Dr. Greer even speaks about that. But don't think that they've completely closed that gap. And remember that many of these civilizations are, if not hundreds of thousands of years ahead of us, potentially millions of years ahead of us, right? So we need to realize the danger in them doing that. I mean, these civilizations are highly peaceful, by the way. Forget what Hollywood would put in your mind about takeover and hostile aliens and invasions and all that. Forget about all of that, right? But realize that even though these are very advanced, civilized, truly civilized, they're not barbaric like we are, um, truly civilized beings, they still, like how often are we going to expect them to deal with their craft being forcibly taken down by these scalar technologies? So they're like potentially risking intergalactic conflict in our name. I mean, folks, this is a big deal, right? This is serious. Now, I don't foresee any kind of intergalactic conflict, and those other civilizations are aware of disclosure movements and other things that we're doing here on the planet to sort of clean up our act, and they're rooting for us and aiding us in whatever ways they can, right? But they also do, many of them take a position of, well, you humans deal with that, clean up your act, and we'll holler at you later. In other words, right? Brother Shaw comes in and says, great topic. From my knowledge and understanding, these reverse engineered technologies coming from deep within the oceans and also inner earth. Yes. First of all, many of us aren't aware of, but these shadow organizations are very aware of Agartha or inner earth, right? Of the civilizations that do live and reside there, and many of them have advanced technologies as well, right? But we need to also realize many of the locations of these black sites, right, or dark sites or shadowy sites, however you want to refer to them, these secretive sites that this cabal utilizes for this reverse engineering, for the development of these technologies and so forth. Many of these facilities are underground, deep underground, and many of them do tie into some of these inner earth passageways, right? And we don't know what kind of communication or treaties or whatever that got going on with any inner earth organization or civilization or group, because we're again not made privy to this information. This has got to stop. This must stop, right? Yeah, man, this is all very important. This is They're playing around with our lives, right? We know about CERN and some of the interdimensional experimentation that they've done there, right? With attempting to breach, and I've talked about this in previous podcasts, folks, or at least certainly my YouTube videos. One of the things that separates dimensions is a vibrational frequency threshold, right? So they're looking at different ways of broaching these thresholds and getting into other dimensions, and even making contact with other civilizations and or beings or groups of beings in these other dimensions, right? On our behalf, essentially, because by default, that's what they're doing. Folks, we got to realize this stuff is serious and not just be so comfortable falling back saying, that's sci-fi. Nah, it's real-ish, right? It's really happening. This is really going down. I know it's mind-blowing, but this is serious, and we need to be adult enough, right, and responsible and sovereign enough to step up and speak for our and our family's best interest, right? And the best interest of our family members and loved ones going forward in future generations, even. This stuff that's happening right now with all of this is that important. It's that impactful, right? So we can't really afford to just be on the fence and be sort of melancholy or just dismissive of it because it's too important for that. It really is. Like to be dismissive of this subject, quite honestly, is to be dismissive of our responsibility to deal with it. That's all of us. All of us. All right. Sister Carrie, thank you, Sister, for being in with us again. Word life. Yes, we getting the truth out there. We got to deal with the things that's one of the bases of this podcast, right? We will touch on subjects that some people may shy away from or be afraid to speak about, right? We will talk about things that some people may shy away from or be afraid to speak about. We will deal with asking the complex questions and finding the difficult to root out answers, right? That's the purpose of this forum, so we can build about this stuff and be better prepared. Folks, let me ask you once again. I spoke about how this subject is in the Black community. Cousin Candy Brown Betty watches. Thank you for being in the house. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're speaking and listen, this is so deep because me and my cousin here who just chimed in, my cousin Candy, we've actually in reality had these kind of conversations north of 35, 40 years ago. We've always been sort of sciencey oriented and sci-fi heads and have had that in common, right? That has always been one of the ways we've connected. Yeah, cousins in the house. We got Bruce in the house, cuz Candy's in the house. We got family up in here. Word life, we built. So man, we're talking about, just to reframe this again, this false flag narrative and our ability to deal with this, right? And I was about to touch on the fact that, again, yes, unfortunately, in the quote unquote Black community, but in general, in this country and in this hemisphere and in the world, we're just not aware enough. And many of us are still at the point of disbelief. We can't afford that anymore. I'm sorry. It's just not reality. And it's in some ways a little bit dangerous to you, right? Because if you're living in what is reflected or what is essentially a fantasy world where these things are not reality, then you're not prepared for and ready to deal with the reality of the real life implications of these things, right? So I don't mean to like push against anybody's belief system or barrier of reality, right? I very much want us to find a space where we can be all inclusive. See what I'm saying? I've never made it an aim of this podcast or my channel or any of my communications to alienate people or to make people feel like, well, that's so far against my belief system, I can't blend with that. No, we're trying to find a way for us all to find a common space that we can deal with these issues and maintain rationality and some sense of unity as we find solutions together. Right? That's what this is about. We're very solution oriented in our thinking. So again, I think the problem A is the ignorance or lack of awareness, right? B, that leads to an unfortunate heightening of and a general unpreparedness of the ability to deal with one of these false flag narratives should it happen, right? Should they make the attempt. And who's they? I'm talking about the socially economic elitist globalist cabal, right? Of the populationists who have so many low vibrational frequency agendas at play right now, and even attempts to manipulate the timelines, folks. That's how deep they get with their application of these technologies and even esoteric arts and crafts, right? What we would call spiritual crafts and esoteric arts involving like ancient disciplines like gematria, all of this stuff, right? What we would refer to or call witchcraft, or some of the uh, um, darker delvings into of the secret societies. All of that, believe it or not, in different ways is interconnected with this cabal and their overall agenda, which encompasses what they have gained over the past 50 years with no oversight, unchecked, and on our dime. Think about that. I don't know about y'all, but I got well over 35 years, more than that, probably close to 40 years working and work history. I know when the Social Security Administration sends that little paper out, I can show over 35, damn near 40 years of me working out here and paying taxes. And I don't like that they just stole my money and used it for what they wanted to use it on, right? And gave me and my family no benefit of it, and revealed to the public nothing about it, and have given all of us no benefit of these technologies that they've developed that are so incredibly advanced and that they have free benefit of. I mean, at some point, we have to really have a spirit about us that says enough is enough, right? And let that rise up as we delve into this subject with a certain rigidity, right? To say, no, we're not going to like compromise about this for another 10, 20 years. This needs to happen now. Disclosure needs to happen now. And with that disclosure, we need to start to organize into groups that are willing to hold the feet to the fire, so to speak, or make responsible those elements of the shadow governments, right? And those other folks who are involved in this cabal, right? Who have manipulated all of this information, access to it, and who have rolled out their agendas without any sort of oversight, completely unchecked, and all of it being in their best interest, completely dismissive of what is our best interest, right? And we just cannot allow for that. We got to rein it, folks. I would say that right now, with the ability, see, we don't realize, many of us, I know many of you do, but worldwide, many of us don't realize the far-reaching impact or influence of this globalist cabal, right? They're often referred to as the hidden hand, right? To give you a quick little note on that, if you look at many prominent figures throughout history, particularly many prominent governmental leaders, right? Like Napoleon Bonaparte, for example. What is the famous picture we think about, and what is he doing in that picture? We always think about him with one hand tucked away in his lapel. Well, why has he got that with one thumb on the outside of the lapel? That is one of the signs or secret sort of signs, hand signals of the hidden hand organization. The hidden hand refers to that web of secret societies and organizations that are global, that are international, forming this web, or the hidden hand of influence over the entire world, right? And how things are run as a paradigm in general. We can no longer allow them to steer the ship of the paradigm. Folks, they were bold enough to illustrate and etch into stone and have right in front of our faces for over 40 years the I Muscle Miles get ready to say it and forgot. The Georgia Guidestones, excuse me, over 40 years. Think about that. First of all, human beings only etch things in stone, and this is true all throughout history, when they are uber important to us, right? When we're really deadly serious about it. They're also a means of us forecasting into the future. There's also the fact that these Georgia Guidestones were huge monolithic tablets that were incredibly expensive to implement. Millions of dollars were used reportedly in this project, right? So this was a work of of these economically elitist cabal, and all of this stuff has been right in front of her face. Them telling us we want a population of only 500 million, so we can sort of lord over that. They etched in stone world population must be reduced to and maintained at no greater than 500 million. Not me making it up. That's what they put in stone. And these are the same cats that we're going to sit back and allow to have over 50 years of unchecked retro engineering of the most advanced technology in the world. No, scratch that. Technology so advanced, it's out of this world. And we're just going to let them have it and use it how they see fit. But we're going to pay for it? Come on, man. No. No, 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 no. Cuz Bruce chimes back in and says, I thought it was a sign of him saying he wouldn't shoot you. No, no, no. Because if you look, it's not just him doing it, right? There are American leaders, there's international leaders all throughout history who have used that symbol, that symbolism of the hidden hand. But that might be a good way for him to play it off, right? Yeah, no doubt. But don't take my word for it. Look into that, right? Look into it. The information's out there. If I can find it, you can too. Sean Johnson comes back in and says, Mother Earth, Mother Gaia is what I meant to say. Back earlier. Oh, yeah. Inner Earth and Great Gaia. True indeed, man. Folks, here's another thing that I think, another angle or perspective I think many of us don't consider. Many of us think about the earth as like some giant inanimate rock floating around in space that we just happen to be perched up on. Nah, man. Nah. The earth, listen, this is our physical being, right? Which is an expression of our spiritual essence. We express ourselves and incarnate into this 3D, 4D physical realm and interface with it through this physical being. Planet Earth is the same thing for Great Gaia's spiritual essence. Do you hear me? Planet Earth is a living being the same way our bodies are living. In fact, everything that's made up of us that is living comes from the earth. How many of you, like when you were born, somebody like literally took a bunch of elements and so forth from some deep reach of space or in a test tube? Not to say that those things don't happen. Right? But most of us, everything that we're made up of comes from the planet. The planet is living just like we are, right? In the same way we have a spiritual essence, so does the planet. And we refer and respect that great essence as Great Gaia, right? And we most certainly should have that respect and homage. Thank you for stating that, Brother Sean. So Gaia's watching and paying attention to this, right? Do you think some of those incredibly advanced beings and civilizations don't actually have contact with Gaia? Come on, man. This stuff is bigger than we think. This is a much more broad and important subject than most of us think. Because Candy comes in, Brown Betty watches, says, we are made of tar stuff. Yeah, all of which, he quoting Emerson, true indeed, all of which from the earth, right? Stardust, yes. What do we think the earth is made of? What do we think everything is made of? It's all essentially stardust. And that stardust, even our star, right, which is a massive collection of it, along with its own energetic and spiritual representation, don't forget that, emanates from the great central sun at the center of our galaxy. And that emanates, right, from the great center the scientists refer to in the galactic bang, right? In the Big Bang, right? That was just the creator creating existence, right? In this universe, in this galaxy, right? In the multiverse, right? But all of which we're not meant to be these helpless, lost, you know, inactive, non-impactful beings. No, we are powerful beings, right? That have forgotten who and what we are, right? Um, and again, much of that is the function of the veil as we incarnate through for us having this human experience and working our way through, toiling through the ignorance that we've had and the lack of awareness that we've had to a higher level of consciousness where we access remembrance of who and exactly what we are. And with that, take on the responsibility and the stewardship of our planet, which also, of course, extends to us and our family and friends. Folks, yeah. Carl Sagan, not Emerson, LOL. Okay, word life. Sagan knows all about knew all about this, rather should I say, knew. Yeah, another individual who I had come into some of his work on this subject decades ago, right? And there are many others who have done great and powerful work in this subject matter. Folks, we have to come to and be at a point where we again are spiritually mature enough and responsible enough as sovereign adults that we say, wait a minute, no, it's not okay for this information to be kept from us like we're children that they can just manipulate, right? It's not okay for them to sequester that technology and all of those advances and developments that could benefit us all greatly, right? It's not okay for them to just keep that from us and sequester that from us, even though we are the ones who've paid for it, right? In no way are any of these things all right to be kept hidden from us, right? Not only can we handle it, we should be trusted with and charged with being responsible enough to deal with this information and what it means and all its implications to us and our families, right? We should have that afforded to us. So we got to address this head on, right? Because the biggest problems are ignorance or lack of awareness on this subject, because the biggest problems are denial and ridicule still amongst not just the Black community, but the country at large and the world at large. We can't afford to be at that point anymore because they're further ahead, much further ahead in their response to our awakening. Folks, the last thing that they ever wanted was to see this awakening into higher consciousness by the majority of human beings on the planet. They don't want that. That is tantamount to them no longer being in power. That to them, point blank, equals the end of their paradigm, right? But it's inevitable. They can't avoid it. It is happening. Again, what is happening on this planet is a product of where we have survived to and made it to, and our positioning relative to our solar system's orbit around the center of the galaxy. This is something celestial that they can't reverse or they can't take back or they can't stop. But that doesn't mean that they won't try and that they won't roll out a ton of agendas along the way that are counterproductive to and are geared toward hindrance of our waking up to higher consciousness. For in higher consciousness, there is no way that we allow this cabal of globalist socially economic elite to have control of any shadow government that has complete monopoly over, with no oversight and completely unchecked, developing, like I said, well over 50 years, unchecked and with no oversight, developing these technologies that they've retro engineered or reverse engineered from these craft that they've taken down with the scalar technology, and from those that have crash wrecked or by some other means come to the planet, right? We simply cannot sit back and allow this to happen and just be hush-lipped about it, right? We can't do that. We got to raise awareness. We got to make folks know what's going on. And getting back to the subject matter, we've got to be prepared mentally and in our maturity level, right? This does call for us to be able to have a sober moment and what to many of us may appear to be an unrealistic reality. Think about that. Like if we look up and see like Independence Day jumping off, okay, and we see some massive craft or a bunch of massive crafts in the sky, we've got to be mature enough and sober thinking enough to realize, wait a minute, this is likely not some alien civilization or some extraterrestrial civilization invading the planet. This is likely that shadow government launching their false flag attack to make us think that, so that we can become so unhinged and so disorganized and devolve from social structure that they can roll in with martial law and do whatever they want, completely unchecked and with no oversight and certainly no answer to the people. We cannot sit back and allow that to happen. Now, I don't mean to push any alarm buttons. That's the last thing we need to do. They want us to panic and be alarmed. I'm trying to suggest to you the opposite. Let's be mature enough to look at it and surprise their asses. We see what you're doing. We know what you're doing, right? We know what you're doing. And let the fact that they would even go to that point, let that serve as an affirmation of how afraid they are of the masses waking up to higher consciousness. Let that serve as an affirmation that we have survived and made it to this part in the galaxy where these energies bombarding the planet are fostering higher consciousness and human evolution in that regard. Let that all serve as an affirmation that by us spreading this awareness, we're on the right track to us finding the solutions that we need to find. Because as we spread awareness and we start to talk about this more and more amongst each other, we build and grow unity. And as we build and grow unity, we start to organize. It's something that human beings do. We will do it organically. As the awareness raises, we will continue and build and start to organize. And those organizations will position themselves where we can step up and hold those accountable who need to be held accountable. Folks, this is our planet, right? This is our country. These are the lives and futures of our friends and families. We're not going to sit back apathetically and just allow them to do whatever they want and react like the mindless, fearful sheep that they want us to be. Do you know that amongst their circles, they refer to you as sheeple? They don't even have enough respect to call you people. They call you sheeple because they feel like they can easily just guide you and steer you around like sheep, right? Don't be herded like sheep. Stand up for yourselves and be your own shepherds. I know you will. I know we're all ready for sovereignty on that level and higher. This is our time. It's exciting in that regard, but that doesn't mean we don't have work to do. We got solutions to find, awareness to raise, and organizations that we need to organically start to put together as we unify around subjects just like this. It's that important, folks, that we deal with it all together right now. Not later, but now. Worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. That's why we making a worldwide movement and we can't be stopped. Worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. Stop just for a moment and take a little bow, a curtsy, or whatever you want to do, and give yourselves a round of applause. Because you are the worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. And we ain't going back. It's one thing about when you move into higher consciousness, right? We all have had information of things that we've learned and we've forgotten, right? But when you move into higher consciousness, it's a level of awareness and spiritual maturity that you don't backstep from, right? You don't just forget that you're conscious one day. When you gain a certain level of higher consciousness, you only move forward. Now you move at your own pace, and it's always and often, at least, not a straight line, right? It is unique to all of us, but you will not backslide once you move forward and have gotten to a certain level of consciousness. Backsliding and backstepping ain't in our program, right? That's just not what we do. So we're not going to nestle back into a comfortable mode where we accept the old paradigm. Sorry, elites, we ain't doing that, man. We're not going to allow you to whittle us off and knock us down. They really thought we was that, you know what I'm saying? That they had it sweet like that. That we was just going to sit back and allow them to bump us off to only 500 million on the planet. Y'all know it's damn near 8 billion people on the planet, right? Yeah, we're not fitting to sit back and allow them to whittle us off and bump us off with all these little schemes until they didn't dwindle us down to 500 million folks that they can lord over and roll out this dystopian nightmare of a future. Oh, I don't even talk like this, but oh, hell no. Right? We're not having it. We're not having it. Brother Silo in the building. One time, my man. We forget more than they know. That's right. True indeed. Man. Speaking particularly of my geo-indigenous folks, my 9 ether buildings in my 9 ether folks in the being, my 9 ether beings in the building, if I can get untongue-tied. Man, that is true. There is more knowledge and information in our DNA that many of these low vibrational frequency Kabbalists could ever even breach, because they're just on too low of a vibrational frequency to get into higher consciousness in that way. And just so you know, folks, scientifically, yes, you can research this yourself. It is in higher vibrational frequency environments that DNA itself expresses more freely and completely. Man, worldwide movement, peace, love, respect. We doing it, y'all. And we ain't stepping back. This is a level of awareness and consciousness that has been foretold by some great, knowledgeable, and wise groups and cultures for a long time, right? We talk about the Mayan traditions and the various groups of monks around the world, like the Tibetan monks. We talk about geo-indigenous groups all around the world, in Australia and with the Aborigine cultures and the native or indigenous cultures here in North America and all around the world, right? Folks, we are uncovering, this is so exciting. And there we go. The Hopi have had a saying for these times that this is both the most difficult and most exciting time to be alive on the planet, because we are uncovering both ancient, forgotten, and hidden, ancient/hidden knowledge and information that is surging us forward exponentially. But we've also uncovered new things and discovered new things that have not just always been germane to our society or our civilization, but now are beginning to. And I would be as bold enough to say that these advancements in technologies that they have been sequestering, right? These socially economic elites and their globalist cabal of shadow governments, right? Um, those things that they've been keeping from us belong to us. And those should be included in the things that we are discovering and being afforded the ability to benefit from. All right. Um, Folks, these things literally belong to us. I mean, we have more than a right to step up and both take over the function of these black sites, hold individuals accountable for the activities, and to rein in and bring under the oversight of the American, certainly the government, the actual government, not just the shadow government, but the government, as long as it is representative of the people, which we are endeavoring to change and increase fervently, but also just that it is within the realm, knowledge, oversight, and accountability of the American people and the people of the world in general, right? There's no group of individuals that has the right to just say, oh, we get to know about this stuff and the rest of y'all remain in ignorance. Like, that's not right. And we shouldn't accept that. We shouldn't be comfortable with that, especially when we see what they've done with it and the hell essentially they trying to raise with it, without us holding them accountable. So we have to hold them accountable, and we have to organize to be in a position to do that. And the first step to us doing that is making more and more of us aware, so that organically and naturally that organization can and will happen. Okay? That's what we're tasked to do. And it's up to us to not fall short of that task and to meet that responsibility for us, for our families, for future generations. Folks, now is the time. This is real, right? This is real. Man, I'm excited because I know and I've already seen, not to be bragging about my ability to look forward down through the timelines and the potentials, but I do possess that, and I have done so, and I already know that we coming out on the right side of this thing, right? But that doesn't mean that we still don't have to work to make those favorable potentials the reality of the future that we go forward and live in, right? Man, magnificent. I'm gonna fall back, folk. I'm gonna fall back. I want to hear more what y'all got to say, and any questions, comments, or statements that you would like to make on the subject, because I need for us to all be aware and prepared for any false flag agenda, because we're not going to let that take us down and draw us into a state of panic that they can come over like, oh, the children are panicked. Let's take control and be parents over the children and make sure they do whatever we say. No, hell no. That ain't the reality that we're accepting. And those aren't the potentials that we're going to work toward. We're going to work toward realizing and bringing into and manifesting the potentials that favor us, that are potentials that favor sovereignty and all of the best things moving forward for us and our families, right? Fostering a world where we can all truly become more enlightened, move into higher consciousness, and truly be our best selves and live our best lives. That's what I'm talking about. That, you know what that is? That's worldwide movement. Peace, love, respect. Huh? Come on, folks. Holler back at me. Anybody who has a statement, comment, or question relevant to today's subject matter. I'm going to allow a few more moments before I close this out. This has been a fantastic conversation. It certainly lived up to my expectations and greater. Thank you all for your input, all of you chiming in. I'm going to send some shouts and some salutes out to brother Silo, Tony Atlas in the building. Brown Betty Watches, cousin Candy in the building. We got brother Sean in the building, brother Sean Johnson. Salute to you as well. We got brother Bruce Curry, cuz in the building. Salute to you as well. We got Sister Carrie in the building. Salute to you as well. We got Brother God Science in the building. My brethren, as always, thank you, family. Salute to you. Yeah, true indeed. Cuz, of course, you invited every week at 3:33. We're going to be here building. And just so y'all know, I didn't actually appear live at 3:33. It was 3:34, but I was right here in front of the camera at 3:33, so we caught the synchronicity anyway. True indeed. Let me make sure. Brother Sean Anchor in the building. Thank you. I salute you, family, for coming through again. Oh, man, this has been a magnificent conversation. I thank you all for making it that. And it ain't over, man. Anybody with any questions, statements, comments, please throw it in the chat right now so I can spit it out to everybody else. We can all think about it, digest it, and talk about it amongst ourselves as we continue to build. We're building a strong foundation, right, for this new paradigm that we're rolling out. One that we like to say exhibits, exudes peace, love, respect. World life. Oh, man. Thank you, Sister Carrie. This is always a great topic. Thank you, sister. I truly appreciate and love you coming by and being with us. Thank you. Right? True indeed. Thank you. 3:33 is the synchronicity that we catch. And I'm going to leave it up to everybody to do your own free thinking research into the numerology behind that. It is very powerful indeed. And that's why I catch it. It is very relevant to change. I'll say that much. And the rest of it, I'll let you all discover for yourselves as you look into numerology. There are many different schools of numerology, right? The Tibetan monks, just so you know, use a certain numerology. The Mayan priests use a certain numerology. There's a certain esoteric level of spiritual numerology that is accepted. In that community, there's gematria and how it's relevant to numerology. So just do some research into that. Yeah, that's the time I start. And I start specifically to catch that synchronicity of 3:33. That's why I picked that start. And I'm going to hold true to that every week. We're here catching that synchronicity, all that it means, and sending it forward in our ability and our efforts to build this new paradigm, one we like to call reflective of peace, love, respect. True indeed. Yes, indeed. Anybody else got any comments, questions, statements relevant to today's topic? We talked a lot about UFO, UAP, USO, and the government having vehicles that they have, not to mention also pilots of those vehicles, right? That they have learned from, experimented on, and gained all sorts of information, insights, and technologies that they've developed unchecked, without any oversight, on our dime, and without sharing any of it with us, or allowing any of us to benefit from those technologies and discoveries. Truly unacceptable, right? Period. Just unacceptable. All right. Anybody else got anything else that you want to state, that you want to come in, chime with? Anything, any questions, statement, comment that you want to make before we close this out? I'm going to allow probably another minute or so, and then we out. In fact, we're going to leave out, if not, if nobody stops me, we leaving out in the 111 synchronicity. 1 hour and 11 minutes. Ooh, that's powerful too. Yeah, man. We love catching those divine synchronicities. True indeed. Anybody else? Any other statements, comments, questions? Thank you all, first of all. Let me not be remiss of that. I love you all. I thank you all. Please make sure you get online and buy my books, right? Available on Amazon, both in ebook and paperback. Please check out all my music as it is available on all the streaming platforms. Please join me again each and every week on this podcast, Buildin with Big King, at 3:33 every Sunday. And please, thank you. Brother God Science says he heard my music on Apple and it's dope. I appreciate that, family. More to come. A new album already in the works. All right, folks. It's 11:11. We caught 11:11. That's powerful. I love you all. I thank you all. Please be back here next week. Also, feel free to check out my rumble.com channel and check me out on all the platforms, X, Instagram. I love you all. I thank you all truly with all of my heart. Be back here with me. I love this forum. I love you all. Once again, worldwide movement. Peace, love, respect. Big King Sadiq. I'm out. Thank you.